At the third-year head coach, Mike O'Neill of this Rutgers program. The transition to the new conference under his direction has been seamless, winning close to 75% of his games, and this is a look at his first-choice 11.
I think Rutgers will really be able to break pressure in the wide spaces today, so watch for right back Aaron Smith attack out of those flank spaces.
They're up against it, though. This afternoon there's the Big Ten Coach of the Year, Stephanie Golan. Her team has achieved a lot this year, and they would like to seek that first championship in the Big Ten tournament since 1995, and this is a look at her 11.
Emily Heslin, that holding mid will be really important for Minnesota today. You'll see her sit in that space between Rutgers midfielders and backs, and we'll see her be able to switch the point of attack and release pressure for Minnesota.
Both coaches seeing each other at training yesterday as they crossed paths, saying they're both excited about this matchup. Similar styles, potential to see a very entertaining championship game here as it's Minnesota on their home field. A little bit more of a breeze here on this Sunday than we saw on Friday in the semifinals, but again, spectacular conditions here in Big Ten country. One of the best out of the back for Rutgers is Aaron Smith. She was so big late there, protecting that lead on Friday where Rutgers at times hung on for dear life in the second half.
Like you said, these two teams play very similar styles of soccer, so I think we'll see a lot of possession-based, maybe not in these first opening minutes where teams just need to get that energy, those nerves out, but once things settle down, both teams like to possess, but then defensively, both teams are so quick to press, to send numbers around the ball, so I think it'll be such an exciting game to watch all 90 minutes long.
Swaby. Mike O'Neill saying it'll be crucial for his Rutgers team as they launch it over the top for the first time, maybe getting their first look at goal, and it's off frame. They're slotting the high ball through, and it was an opening for Shiraka.
Minnesota likes to hold that high line. See Colby Shiraka sit right in between the two center backs. She gets on this long ball, hits it up and over the crossbar, but a great start for Rutgers.
She had the goal Friday, and both teams learned during the semifinals one might be enough. But you would anticipate both teams, when they possess, they're not going to have a lot of time on the ball and have to operate in tight spaces under duress.
Well, that's one of the things that both coaches highlighted, is just being able to calm down when they're on the ball, be able to quickly possess, find little interchanges in the midfield in those wide spaces to release that pressure. So once things settle down, we'll see who's most comfortable, who's able to kind of find those little spaces to get their teams out.
It was Rutgers who felt they played it a little too safe in the second half versus Northwestern as the Wildcats went with that direct approach and were causing them a handful of problems.
Was, but kudos to Northwestern. They came out in that second half a totally different team. They were a great team against Rutgers in that second half of play.
And this is unfamiliar for both teams. They didn't face each other in the regular season, so a lot of the video work has to go back to last year or looking at them against other opponents. Prager will switch over to Shiraka. First time forward for the Gophers. This is Kelly McGann, streaming down the near side, looking for some service or a corner. She'll take option number 2.
Emily Heslin starts that play. She's got that ability to switch the point of attack, and when you have high pressure defenses like that, being able to switch the ball in the field in those one long, strong passes is so important.
She took the majority of the corners on Friday, and Heslin doing it again. Stephanie Golan feels she's the type of player that gets overlooked oftentimes. She's not a stats player, but one of the hardest workers, the wrecking ball in the midfield that can win the balls back. Here, a high floating service. Rutgers first to it. Tiernan misses it, but there, her back line knocks it out of trouble, but it's on feet there of Simone Colander. Big Ten Forward of the Year, 2 consecutive seasons. Colander will heave it into the area. Stever, she was so influential on Friday. There's Stever trying to get into position. Still hanging around for a while, and Minnesota's able to manufacture a chance. It was Fiedler with the try.
We talked about Colander. One of the things I like best about her is how comfortable she is with the ball at her feet. She comes back into the midfield spaces, gets the ball at her feet, turns, sets play. She's not just dangerous around the goal and in scoring opportunities, but she's able to come back, possess the ball, and really set play for her team offensively.
The way she can control that ball with a soft touch, you wouldn't expect her to be 5'10" necessarily.
No, she doesn't really fit the play of a 5'10" athlete. She's very smooth on the ball, very controlled, composed.
This is Gurnis, the goal scorer Friday. Little half chance. And Jimenez, who played a big part between the sticks for Rutgers' win on Friday, there to calm things down. Burnett got ahead to it, and she could play a big piece for Minnesota this afternoon. The switch is going to be very important, because Rutgers, maybe more so than Minnesota, they'll have a tendency to try to pin a team into a quadrant of the field and not allow them to breathe.
They do. Rutgers especially, they commit numbers around the ball and really try to keep a team to one side of the field. So if you can switch the point of attack, you'll have all sorts of time and space going down that opposite flank.
Jimenez, especially some nervy moments with Northwestern driving for the equalizer in that second half. The calmness from the senior contributed to that victory for Rutgers.
It did. Her and the 2 freshman center backs for Rutgers, they did so well in that little triangle. They don't have a ton of experience between them, but they had their hands full in that second half against Northwestern and dealt with it so well under pressure.
Half shot, half service, scooped wide of the frame.
She was looking, Colander was making a great diagonal run into the box, and she just missed her. Got a little bit too much air under that ball.
So have the nerves gone away for both teams, do you think, by now?
Around the 10-minute mark, you can usually say that. Usually takes about that 10 minutes to just settle down.
The offside flag coming up for the first time. It was Whitley trying to thread that pass through.
And Colby Shiraka just making some dangerous runs. She's just kind of sitting in between those 2 center backs for Minnesota. Kind of unmarked, nobody's really on her, and she's been able to make those free runs. A few
nervous moments there, but it's Jimenez with it again. There's Madison Tiernan. She was kept off the score sheet. She wears number 73 there for Rutgers. And talking to her mother, Robin, she said that she's worn that number since she's been about 8 years old because she was born July 3rd, so hence 7-3. Now it's Rutgers with the little room down the left side. Not a lot of options, though, so it's just spun across goal.
Rutgers was pinned in their end for a decent amount of time, so they just didn't have numbers forward into that attack on that last play. We've seen Madison Tiernan come back into the midfield to get the ball a lot, but that's also freed up space for Colby Shiraka just because of the amount of attention that Madison Tiernan draws.
Look there at both coaches, Stephanie Golan and Mike O'Neill, and their topic of conversation on the field prior to this game was not about these two teams, but about the other teams in the conference, and they feel that Michigan and Wisconsin should have the opportunity to qualify for the NCAA tournament. Nebraska and Ohio State also in that conversation, and especially knowing what Michigan has gone through and head coach Greg Ryan, they felt that they should have qualified the last 2 years.
They have it. It's such a, you see the RPI rankings, and RPI stands for Ratings Percentage Index. And it's just the system that the NCAA uses to rank their teams, especially in postseason. So you'll see that little number, and the lower the number, the better your chance of getting in to the NCAA tournament come post-tournament time.
Shiraka feeds it into the middle. Again, off target. So a lot of half chances, not a quality one yet from either side.
And those half chances just come from that nerves and those situations where you're just kind of flighting balls forward, little half hope effort. And I think once we see this game settle down, we'll see these two teams do what they do best: attack the flanks, get numbers into the box, and find services from the wide spaces.
The key for Minnesota on Friday was their patience versus Michigan, and they created most of their chances from their pressure. So they're unbeaten in 8. They have not lost since an overtime defeat against Wisconsin, where they were rattling the woodwork frequently and just couldn't find the goals. There's now a little opening down the right side for the Gophers. Colander makes herself available. Swaby. And it's a free kick for Minnesota. Peeled in. Smith was rising up. Fiedler from far away, well over the bar. This is a Rutgers team you do not want to get down to. Near perfect record since 2008 when leading at half, 58-3-3. But so far it seems like goals may be hard to come by. Colander couldn't grab it. Retrieved by Fiedler. But the pressure from Rutgers, and they possess once again. Slowly navigating their way through the midfield. Whitley. Colander, the steal. A lot of numbers back already for Rutgers. McGann streaming into the area. A little over a half hour remaining in this opening half. This is the Big Ten Tournament Championship. Minnesota and Rutgers. Fighting her way by Tiernan. And Albrecht stays down for a bit. She She was tangled up with Madison Tiernan. Who says soccer players aren't tough?
It's a big touch here from Albrecht. And Prager comes in hard and just catches her on that left foot through the tackle as she finished it.
Little opening. Whitley bounding into the awaiting arms of Hobbs. Whitley, the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, 9 assists on the season, the most ever by a Rutgers freshman. She's been active here early.
And Coach O'Neill talked about how they just want her on the ball all the time, and he thinks that the more experience she gets, the better she's going to be, the more confident she'll be. But she's such a creator. She likes to set play through that attacking mid spot, and she'll be big time for Rutgers going forward, especially as she gets more developed, gets more confident.
The senior members of this Rutgers team have a lot of big game experience. They lost in the Big Ten Tournament Championship game last year to Penn State, and then were also dropped in the Final Four of the big tournament by those same Nittany Lions.
They're just kind of a group of fighters, this Rutgers team. They've been on the road for almost 6 weeks now, I think. So I think just their mentality is to battle it out, grind it out. However they need to get things done, they do.
The hit from distance. Sent over the goal. We've seen a few high attempts so far here early in the game.
We have. Kenny Wright especially has been able to drive into that space on the left side. And Minnesota is kind of taking away the flanks with their right forward right now. So she's been able to cut inside and find those little combination plays on the outside to get into the attack.
That's what Stephanie Golan, Minnesota's head coach, was saying. There's a few players that can hit it from distance for Rutgers, so at times they're going to have to step up. Colander following Swaby all the way to the end line, looking for a mistake. So 4 shots fired so far in this game, just 1 on frame. So a free kick for the Gophers. It's Emily Heslin lining things up. Bang forward, there's Colander getting a foot to it. Jimenez able to secure it. That's been the best looking chance for either team so far.
You see a ball driven in by Heslin. It gets cleared initially, but then the nice little ball at the top of the box gets sent right into Colander's path, and she just doesn't get enough pace on it with her right foot. You see her here again. She gets turned, she gets faced on the goal, just doesn't get enough on it.
The placing of the shot not bad if she could get a little more heat behind it.
Jimenez did a good job to come off of her line and cut down those angles as well. But a great opportunity for Minnesota. Definitely the best we've seen this half.
The pressure from Rutgers, forcing the turnover. Long shot, diving to parry it aside was Hobbs. Action now at both ends.
You called it. They are so dangerous from striking from distance. We'll see a turnover by Fiedler here. A big touch from Prager. She takes her touch, tries to drive it in, but Hobbs dives to her right, gets up and over the ball.
Off the corner, Minnesota all over that. It's brushed forward by Seddon. Burnett to it now, a little help from Fiedler. But again, the pressure from Rutgers causing some problems. Sprouting up there was Tiernan. But Minnesota fights their way out of the jam. Simone Colander skipping down the field and moving around some midfielders. But it's Prager there, the intervention.
Prager is very good in that holding mid spot at just breaking up play, dispossessing players. She takes really good angles. And he's able to find little turnovers like that all the time.
There's Heslin on the right side. Pops it into the middle. By Gurnis. But it's McGann. 1v2, and emerging out of the dust with possession is Tiernan and Rutgers. So composed there, Smith. But the pressure now, too much. It's McGann coming in. Visco, the freshman, knocks it out.
Big tackle by Visco to save that turnover that you initially saw from Rutgers. Here's that little combination play that we were talking about, but Visco comes in hard with that big tackle right on the edge of the box.
There's the freshman taking the initiative, saying enough of that. But here a free kick for Minnesota. They created danger after their last opportunity. Heslin will whip it in. Kept alive by Fiedler, but lifted by Gurnis. Jackie, a lot of soccer this weekend. Really all week for these two teams. What's it like to play Friday and Sunday, especially when the matches are so important?
You know, when I was in the Big Ten, it was so typical. That was your schedule, Friday, Sunday, but they're lucky enough now where they've kind of moved into a schedule where it's Thursday, Sunday, so these teams are used to 2 days in between rest. But that being said, this is the Big Ten tournament. You're on your way to postseason play, so that adrenaline, those nerves, that energy kind of gets you through that fatigue that you might feel in their legs. But we talked about it on Friday. That team, Minnesota, they played that early game, and those 2 hours make such a difference in terms of recovery.
Colander. That takes a deflection, so it should be a corner, and it will be.
See Colander on the ball, gets her head in, tries to just whip one in and outswing her into the back, and it deflects right off the center back for a corner kick.
McGann making sure nobody's going to get to that unless it was going to be a Gopher. Stever, the perimeter of the area. Missing it there with the left foot was Simone Colander as it breezed by.
Another big opportunity for Simone Colander. See the ball get whipped in here, somehow makes it through the 6, gets it onto her left foot, but it just gets redirected and she's not able to shift her feet quite in time to get good enough pace on that ball.
As McGann for Minnesota has been creating some problems both on the left side and there on the right. Just over 20 minutes remaining in this opening half for Minnesota. Stever there, wearing the captain's armband for Minnesota and demonstrating why. Many folks, including Stephanie Golan, felt that Stever should have been midfielder of the year in the conference. She had a brilliant Friday performance for the Gophers.
She did. The amount of ground that she covers is so impressive. You'll see her offensively, defensively, in the middle of the field, out wide on the flank spaces, and she's so good and calm with the ball at her feet and just creates. Whenever she has the ball at her feet, you know something big's going to happen. You know something dangerous is about to happen offensively.
Coach Golan, when you ask about her what she does best or what are her strengths, she says everything.
She did.
5 game-winning goals for Stever, third most in the conference. Here holding the ball a little bit is Tiernan. Stever had it for a moment, recovered by Tiernan, on for Shiraka. But the attack peters out.
We're used to seeing Tiernan in that holding forward, that target forward space, and she's pulled back into more of a withdrawn forward space right now, which I like because she can get on the ball more, she can set play a little bit more, and they don't lose that high forward target when she does. But we haven't seen her on the goal.
Stever trying to switch, but it's read by Rutgers. It's Rashida Beal, such a big piece of that back line for Minnesota, begins the build-up.
In terms of Minnesota's defense, she just reads the game so well.
Squires sneaks her way in. Squires gets the first one for Minnesota.
Talked about how these two teams like to possess, but here you see Minnesota catch Rutgers back line off guard. It's a long ball in by Albrecht and a great turn and spin to get on the end of that ball, and she just one-times it right into the right side of the net.
A look at this clever finish one more time.
Gets in behind the defender and just gets her laces on it, sends it right into that far post.
Didn't have much time, she didn't need it. Eighth goal of the season for Squires. She's been contributing all week. Played about half the game on Friday, so allowing Minnesota to rest some of their players and rely upon that depth here on Sunday.
She did a great job at just staying on that center back's right shoulder, turn and spun, and was able to go straight into that ball in by Nikki Albrecht.
Little mistake, opens things up, almost. As again, it was Squires having the opportunity for the early brace there.
It's that high pressure defense right away. They try to get pressure on those backs.
Stever now the steal. But it's cleaned up out of the back by Rutgers. So it appears that Minnesota's going to keep coming. How's this change Rutgers' approach? Still a lot of time, but down to a powerful Gopher team, 1-0.
They haven't been able to break that high pressure system a ton. We've seen them with some combination play in the back and on the flanks.
Squires, Colander, Jimenez beats her to it. Here's that attempt from Squires, almost making it 2-0 earlier.
That high pressure again, not enough pace on that ball back. Jimenez comes out of the box, but Squires isn't able to get her second touch on it. She tries to round the keeper, but Visco comes in, left foot, slides it out.
A couple of big plays from Visco, the freshman. She went a full 90 for the 18th time on Friday. That leads this Rutgers team. Here a turnover in the midfield with the wrong person, Josie Stever. There's Shiraka in pursuit as Colander.
Rutgers is playing right into that defensive pressure. And then Minnesota, as soon as they win it, their heads up and their forwards are running into those diagonal spaces behind the back line. They're very quick to transition, look to counter when they have that high pressure and win it. Right away, they're on the attack.
The few times, Jackie, it seems that Rutgers has some positive momentum going forward. They'll get 3/4 of the way up the field, and all of a sudden you look around and it seems like they're outnumbered by Minnesota.
Exactly, and they've been so pinned. So they've got, I think, 7 players back behind Minnesota's first confrontation line right now to try and break that pressure. So when they do, there's only 2 or 3 players up top to really play or get anything generated.
It's the voice of Jackie Manning, the former Fighting Illini and Chicago Red Star. She's behaved well. She's not keeping an eye on her cousin's scoreline, Mike McGee of the Los Angeles Galaxy right now in the starting 11 during MLS Cup playoffs.
I know, same game time start too. Stay disciplined.
Simone Colander has some options ahead. Knocked down by McGann. She'll keep it on the deck, but it's recovered by Aaron Smith. Smith almost teasing the players to come at her and then moves it away in a hurry. Here the long blast, and
much better by Rutgers, though, to break that pressure. You saw it start with Aaron Smith in the right back spot. They played it through the midfield, found it on the left flank. They just couldn't get through that last line. But we haven't really seen that from Rutgers yet. We haven't seen them been able to really develop anything offensively.
Swaby takes it away from Squires. And it's the pressure from McGann that ends up causing this disruption in possession for Minnesota.
Great pressure, great win by Madison Tiernan. And here's the first time that we've seen Rutgers really have time on the ball, and they've been able through Andreessen to switch that point of attack. And Kenny Wright, all game so far, has been able to drive into that left side.
Wright wearing that headband down the left side. Prager will shift things back into the middle. Colander takes it away, 1v2.
Here's that Tiernan steal from earlier. She's so good offensively, but brings so much to the game defensively as well. She has that high pressure, tenacious attitude defensively, and you see her get right up on Nikki Albrecht, cause that turnover, and Rutgers was able to get out to the other side off of it.
Is that what her mom was saying separated her from a young kid playing soccer? She might lose one race, but you know she's not going to lose that next race. Here it's Minnesota, though, on top 1-0, trying to build that lead. Safely sent away by Prager. Throw in by Peterson. She spots Stever. Fiedler feeds it forward. Numbers in the area for Minnesota. And a corner upcoming. As usual, Heslin makes the trot to the corner spot to send it in here. As we close in on the final 10 minutes of this first half. Squires with the opening goal for the Gophers. Here looking for number 2. Colander got a touch to it. Hangs around for a while. It was Prager who knocked it away, it looked like. Here's Josie Stever. Somehow digs across through. Colander looking for room. Left foots it. Jimenez was on it.
You see Stever get end line. She drives across, gets through that box, through all those players. And then Simone Colander takes it onto her left, tries to drive one in. Jimenez does well to handle it in the box.
First look, it almost appeared to take a slight deflection, but
I think it did. That's where you saw that weird spin. Jimenez had to shift her feet a little bit to get behind it.
So 6 shots in this game for Minnesota, 5 on frame. And this is what Coach Mike O'Neill was saying, both coaches talking about how depth is important when you have the grind of a tournament all weekend long. But Coach O'Neill, when you make a substitution, the key thing is that the level has to rise.
It has to stay the same or rise, exactly. You can't let the level drop as you're going into a halftime just because you're subbing. He said he has full confidence anytime that he makes a sub. He's got full confidence that something's going to raise. The level won't drop. It'll stay consistent no matter who's on the field.
There's LaPlante, fresh off the bench, fights for possession. Pressure from Tiernan, causing some issues, but hanging in there strong is Tori Burnett out of the back for the Gophers. Back to the cul-de-sac is Swaby. And Tiernan, the push down there on Albrecht, causing a mild uproar. Cautionary yellow, the first one of the game.
Here you see Tiernan and Burnett go at it. Great job by Burnett to get her foot in there, keep it from Tiernan taking that one touch. And then here's that card you just saw on Tiernan. I think a little bit of frustrations right now. She hasn't had the ball a ton defensively. It's the right call by the referee. The ball's out of bounds. Play was done, and she came in a little bit late right through the back.
So the intensity of the match perhaps catching up to Tiernan a little bit there. Definitely a cardable offense. Just a yellow in her back pocket right now. This is Squires, the goal scorer for Minnesota. We'll switch the conversation down the right side. Simone Colander draws a lot of attention. Pried loose by Tiernan. But some cover back for Minnesota.
Rutgers just hasn't been able to keep the ball a ton offensively, so they're playing so much defense in this first half. They keep getting pinned pretty deep in their end, so their forwards are kind of left on that little island.
Colander trying to walk in. The little shift. And maybe the touch a little too hard. It gives time for Rutgers to get back, but still behind the ball. Minnesota now spreading this attack around. And Albrecht's service a little off target. The way they come at you with speed can be scary at times.
They come at you with speed, but also numbers. So as soon as somebody in that attack wins the ball and they go forward, their outside back gets wrapped up. They've got 3 up top who can shift around and find the ball at their feet, and they just have all these different options offensively.
Yeah, that's a good point, because even there, Colander, it looked like she was going to have an opportunity, then things were closed down, but she had options all around her, and she utilized them.
She did, and Rutgers did a good job at getting numbers back behind the ball, but again, Minnesota, they have numbers around the ball all the time. It's easy to keep possession and keep the ball when you have all of those options when you're on the ball.
Ruth Prager had to be careful there with Squires right over her shoulder. We've seen a lot of this half. It's floated over the top, and numbers back for Minnesota, outnumbering Rutgers while they're trying to create some energy going forward. As this is Simone Colander on the counter. Stever to her left. Will be the 4th corner of the afternoon for Minnesota.
Minnesota just does not take their foot off the gas pedal. Even when we talked to Coach Golan before the game, we asked if there was a difference in how you go about a game from a Friday to Sunday, just given that there's less recovery, and she said no, we'll go after the game the same way. We'll keep going hard, we'll go strong all 90 minutes.
Driven in by Heslin. The outswinger, Colander was nearest. Falls down for Fiedler. Swung right back in. Getting a couple touches to it. First Burnett. And she'll find it once again at her feet. Safely away by Rutgers. Under 5 minutes to go in the opening half of this Big Ten tournament title game for Minnesota. Burnett will keep it on the grass. Fiedler to Squires. Fights her way by initially. Now on the follow through, Heslin. Quick decision making there by Fiedler. As it was Swaby rising up over Colander to knock it away.
I like how patient and composed Minnesota's attack is from front to back. Even when their outside backs have the ball, they're in one channel, they don't like it, they turn, they face the other way, and they attack down the opposite flank, which makes it so hard to defend.
It was right, the initial breakup by Rutgers, but it's Colander now the other way. Squires didn't get full force behind that, and the follow-through shot is jabbed wide. It will be a goal kick. Scored the opening goal. It's Sydney Squires for Minnesota. These two teams won by 1-0 scorelines on Friday. Stever. The little flick by Colander. Stever once again. Squires wanted it. Instead, they go to Albrecht. Now it's Sydney Squires. A lot of possession here by Minnesota. Now we'll see if they can creep a little closer to goal.
And they've just got Rutgers so pinned right now. All 11 players are about 10 feet behind the half circle.
Well, Rutgers played a game on Friday, a tale of two different halves in their victory over Northwestern, hoping they can flip the script because their first half was their strongest. But here they find themselves trailing 1-0.
Well, and they're a good team. They're very well coached. So I think they'll go into halftime. They'll be able to settle down a little bit, get back into this game tactically, formationally, whatever changes they have to make, they'll make. And I think the second half will be good for Rutgers. A halftime will be really good for this Rutgers team.
Mike O'Neill is a class guy. We talked about Rutgers making it to the Final Four. This is just the third year for Mike O'Neill directing this program. The longtime assistant under Glenn Crooks, but he made sure Glenn and his wife got a College Cup ring last year, bringing some tears about, just showing how much they contributed to that program.
Every time we've been able to talk to him, I've just been so impressed with his approach to the game, to his program. You can tell he has his players' best interest at heart, and I think just both these coaches, I'm so impressed with how they go about their teams.
Here's Tiernan, but the offside flag came up. Yeah, Stephanie Golan, she's got a good sense of humor as well, and probably in a good frame of mind right now with the #1 seeded Gophers on top 1-0 as the opening half coming to a close.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So it's Sydney Squires with the lone goal there during the opening half, and a bright start for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. What impressed you there, Jackie, about Minnesota's performance here on their home field in the opening half?
Almost everything. I think they came out from front to back. They were able to keep the ball. They possessed. But that being said, it's one half of soccer, so we'll see what this second half looks like.
Well, Stephanie Golan is kind enough to join us live on the headset here at the conclusion of the first half. And Coach, your team's on top. What did you like about the performance there in the opening 45?
I thought we got stronger as the half went on. Early they were putting us under a little bit of pressure. They lumped a couple over the top and were stretching us out a little bit. But once we got our pressure where we wanted it to be and we started getting some patience and moving the ball, we were in their end quite a bit, and we liked that.
Coach, you had them pinned defensively. What changes do you see them making coming into the second half?
They just have to move the ball a little bit quicker, and they're going to probably go a little bit longer for a period of time to try to open us up a little bit. And we've got to continue to stay compact and continue to do what we've been doing the first half and, turn them over and keep the ball on their end.
Stephanie, thanks so much for the time. Good luck in the second half.
Thanks, guys.
Stephanie Golan and her Gophers on top. Goldie's dancing. Hopes to celebrate a little later on, but Rutgers might have an answer. It's Minnesota on top 1-0 here at the break from Minnesota. That's the part of this tourney, especially on the women's side. You never know who's going to win it. 5 years, 5 different winners. Close games as well. Went to overtime in 2014. In the championship game again, Rutgers hoping for a better result this year as Penn State was victorious. It's nice to have the head coach of this Rutgers program, Mike O'Neill, join us live on the headset. And Mike, what was the message to your team at the break, how they can perform better in the second half?
Yeah, we just need to deal with the pressure. I mean, I felt we were doing a good job until the goal, and then after the goal, we kind of panicked a little bit. We made a mistake right after it, and then what we did is we kind of went into a shell a little bit. But it's important for us to keep the ball and go from there.
Like you said, I thought you guys were able to break that high pressure sometimes with a little bit of combination play in the flanks. Any formation or tactical changes that you'll make to make that better in the second half?
Well, we're going to push the pressure higher up a little bit, and then we'll go from there. A couple of things that we'll adjust as the second half continues, and let's see what happens.
Coach O'Neill, as always, thanks so much for the time. Good luck in the second half.
Great, thank you.
Well, Big Ten fans, BTN To Go is now fully customizable. Check out all the new features of the app, watch live games and daily video from BTN, as well as fresh, real-time social content about your school, stories from BTN.com, and much more. Update yours or download the app today, available in the App Store and on Google Play. So for Minnesota, they were satisfied with their patience in that opening half. And as Mike O'Neill said, that they played pretty well. They were lumping some balls over the top, but then they kind of went into a shell after conceding that first goal and almost a second one immediately after.
They did, and that's why we saw them get kind of pinned in their own end. I think they just kept retreating a little bit defensively, and when you're a team that has been successful off of a high press defense, your game just kind of gets off kilter a little bit. So I think if they can come out and press high, get themselves up into their attack a little bit more, we'll see a much more typical Rutgers style play.
So second half, Big Ten tournament title game from Elizabeth Lyle Robbie Stadium, and off we go. Especially in championship conditions, Coach O'Neill expecting his leaders to show these young kids the way, to let them know what they're going to need here, especially during these crucial moments.
This is where you'll see a Madison Tiernan and Aaron Smith, those players that have been there, done that experience-wise. You'll see them start to step up and lead their team right now.
Especially those seniors, as you anticipate playing more in the NCAA tournament, but does it start to creep into your mind at this point when you're a senior that you're not going to be, unless you're going to go pro, you're not going to be kicking a ball around for a while, having some fun with your friends like this?
A little bit. You don't really want that to be your drive at this point in the season. You want to kind of focus at each game at hand, but yeah, that's definitely a thought that's in the back of your mind from the start of your senior year, really.
Go out the right way.
Exactly, and so many players hinge their success in their career on their last season, so it's almost a pressure piece at that point.
Sorry, there's the pressure from the freshman Whitley. Seddon makes the turn, floated well wide.
And already we're seeing Rutgers higher up into their attack. Got Madison Tiernan up high onto Minnesota's center backs. I think we'll see a different Rutgers team this half. We haven't really talked about their road to getting to this point either. They've played the top 3 seeds so far in this Big Ten tournament play. And they beat one of the top 2 to get here as well.
Penn State and Northwestern. As it was all about revenge versus Penn State, giving them some confidence to continue to move forward.
And they grinded it out against a good Northwestern team. So they've definitely had a tough road to get here. Not to say that Minnesota hasn't, but like we talked about, they're just a team that battles, and I think we'll see them battle and grind their way back into the second half.
They've persevered, facing 2 completely different programs. Here's Madison Tiernan. Watched closely by Rashida Beal. Be a deep throw.
see that long throw by Madison Tierney, which will also allow Rutgers to get their numbers forward.
Swaby also joining everyone in the penalty area. It swung her way over her head. Fiedler not out of the vicinity of trouble yet as Tiernan knocked off balance. As a result, will just be a goal kick. Two good plays there by Fiedler in the midfield. Kobe Shiraka, she's got some help with her. Seddon couldn't hold it. Wright's been driving forward all afternoon. That continues. Shiraka out of the scrum. The flag coming up on Whitley. The breeze in Minnesota's face a little bit here in the second half as Rutgers had to deal with that in the opening 45. Smith ahead to Prager. Shifting is Shiraka. Whitley slots it in. As Seddon couldn't shake loose. Well defended by Rashida Beal. Seddon loses it. Patient build up here for Minnesota. Gurnis makes a run. Tackle there outside the area. Corner kick upcoming.
That whole build-up leading into that corner kick. Really the first time we've seen Minnesota pass their half attack-wise, but a great job. They started from the left back, found the middle, and then tried to spray it back out wide, which resulted in this corner kick.
Heslin will bring it in. The in-swinger. Rutgers to it first. But it's Minnesota. Stever unable to reach that pass.
Minnesota spaces themselves so well when they're in their attack. I think sometimes when you get in your attack, you get a little antsy and anxious to find the ball and everything becomes very narrow. But Minnesota is so good at keeping the width, keeping the wide spaces, and really drawing apart defenses.
Is that what they mean when they say stretching teams?
That is exactly what they mean. Minnesota is very patient and really does that. Stretches out defenses really well.
Smith there, visions of Kobe Shiraka.
We got Madison Tiernan hobbling around just a little bit from that last play.
Tiernan struggling to just walk that off. And here she's able to hold things up.
You see her here, she went up for a 50-50 ball. She did a good job at winning that header, but catches her ankle. on that landing, had a big roll in her ankle.
Slowly getting better as she walks it off, but you can see why she's pained by that.
She is not one to milk an injury. She is so tough and competitive, so she's hobbling around like she is for that long. It's got to be something.
You can just tell by the look of her on her face is Whitley. Never a threat. And especially a senior in a championship game. A championship game this team lost last year at Penn State.
One that you're down in, and she has so much heart. She's so competitive on the field. The last thing she wants to do is have to come off the field today.
Racing effort was set. Gaffney will knock it out. It leads to a corner for Rutgers. So the second half, reminiscent of the opening half, a quiet first 10 minutes, and this is when things started to open up. They play it short to Tiernan. Rips it towards goal, just off the roof. Closest Rutgers has come all game.
And that's what she is so dangerous at. She gets the ball at the top of the box. You see it here. She'll just take this short corner across her body, takes an aggressive touch to her right, and then tries to whip it in. And it goes right over that crossbar. Great effort by Madison Tiernan.
She gets a scent of that goal and all of a sudden forgets about that left ankle.
I think by every definition of the word, she is a fighter.
Shown the cautionary yellow in the first half. Hasn't been a very chippy game, though. It's Murphy now onto the field for Rutgers. You can see the pressure now from Rutgers. First it was Wright, then Andreessen. Much more prevalent here in the second half. Coolly navigating things is Swaby. Tiernan, but the offside flag is raised. It was Erica Murphy sneaking in.
Little turn by Madison Tiernan. She sees her out of the corner of her left, but Murphy starts her run off sides.
Saw Gurnis on the left side earlier. Here on the right for Minnesota. He will stay with the Gophers.
Number 4, Peterson.
So Peterson into the match for Minnesota. This is Tori Prager. Didn't see any openings, so she'll play it back. And again, an offside. So Minnesota, they won their first Big Ten regular season title since 2008, trying to win their first tournament title since 1995. Unbeaten in their last 8, compiling a 6-0-2 record.
I think one thing that has really helped Minnesota is they've been so consistent in their lineup and their formation. There's something to be said for a team that can change things up, throw some different options at you, but Minnesota just stays true to who they are no matter who they're playing. They come out in that same shape, same lineup, same personnel for the most part. I think they are just starting to click and peak towards the end of the season, and it's the perfect time to do so.
Heslin sends it out wide. Peterson doing the work for Minnesota.
Checking in for Minnesota, number 2, Simone Kolander.
This should draw some attention for Rutgers. Simone Kolander coming in, and there's a good look at Coach Golan for Minnesota. Just 37 years of age, was 29 with her first head coaching gig, Division I soccer. She says experience has taught her the biggest thing is, and you hear this oftentimes from coaches and players, but do not let your players get too high. Don't let them get too low, because they're going to experience that, especially younger athletes. Try to keep them grounded at all times.
She has such a good grip on her program. It's so impressive, the culture that she's already established here. I think the 5th year that she's been here, and she has such a high respect from her players, from the alums.
This is Tiernan dragging some defenders with her. She's got a good sense of humor too, because I had to ask her, how old are you? And right away she shot back, well, how much do you weigh?
She was quick to do so too.
Born and bred in St. Louis, Missouri, but now turning this Minnesota program into a powerful team. This is Kolander. Little flick into the middle. McGann leads the charge forward. Blows by Aaron Smith. Now gets a step, but just knifed out. No, it stays in, and Rutgers survives that onrush. Under a half hour to go here in the second half. And a Gopher is down. That's Kelly McGann.
You see Minnesota starts their attack in there, defending half. She's got time and space on the ball. Aaron Smith steps a little bit too hard. She's able to take a big attacking touch past her, and then tries to go again against Visco, but Visco comes in with a sliding tackle and catches her after the ball is played. You see it here again. Visco comes in. It's a good, clean tackle from the start. McGann just gets locked up in her feet as she comes down and lands right on her foot. We've seen that happen twice now. Same play as Madison Tiernan, where she just comes down and lands on the ankle of the player.
She was good Friday, and she's been good again today, Kelly McGann.
She's somebody who we've seen more of with all the attention that Simone Kolander has garnered. She's been able to find some space, some time in those wide flanks, and has been really good at attacking out of that space.
So the senior helped off. And grimacing a bit with some pain.
Here we go, Gophers! Come on, Gophers! Keep it up, Minnesota!
It's probably cold and rainy in the West Coast, not here in Big Ten country. The weather has been shining all weekend for this tournament. Free kick, Minnesota.
Not positive what that call was, but that was well read by Chantel Swaby.
I think Coach O'Neill and a few of the Rutgers players were a little confused as well. Emily Heslin behind the ball. Prager takes it away from Heslin.
The two holding mids for both these teams today have been really good. Heslin in Minnesota, Prager for Rutgers. They've sat in that space. They've disrupted the opposing offenses really well and then kept it after they've won it.
Prager sends it into space. Shiraka there, chasing after it. On the turnover here, Madison Tiernan. She's got the ability to rip it from far away. The one hopper. And Hobbs, a little problem. Coming very close to crossing that goal line. And maybe the sun a little bit of an issue there. Stever's switch is anticipated by Keeney right out of the back for Rutgers. Murphy couldn't get a foot to it, and here is the close call.
Lets it bounce, and that ball keeps spinning. So it goes right between her legs, but does not cross the goal line or even touch it. Good call by the referee.
There were a few points and shouts from the Rutgers sideline, but a good look there, never coming close to the goal line. Free kick here for Rutgers. Driving it in is Andreessen. Doesn't get by many, is hit low. Minnesota forcing Aaron Smith and Rutgers to track back and start this build up anew. Whitley. But the offside flag coming up for the 5th time this afternoon on Rutgers.
But it's so much better than we saw in the first half. You see Whitley on the ball, just doesn't get her pass off quite soon enough. Shiraka has her run offsides by the time she plays it in. But that aggressive, attack-minded mentality is so much different than we saw in the first half. We really didn't see more than one person on Minnesota's back line for Rutgers, and there we saw 3 lined up ready to make that play attacking.
Whitley has that ability to put those passes through. Prager loses it to Stever. Colander is an option in front. But Josie Stever will switch down the left side. Too much congestion to get the shot away. It's Tiernan helping out defensively. Nudge forward by Shiraka.
You see a great block defensively here. Albrecht was trying to continue her run on. You see the shot here. So good by Andreessen to keep that ball out of the back of the net.
So the little things there. Keeping Minnesota's lead to just 1. There's Prager.
A little more intensity, a little more focus.
Goal scorer Sydney Squires way back in the opening half. Tiernan here on the throw. Hoists it in. And it's a corner.
Such a great throw. Didn't have a ton of numbers in terms of Rutgers around that ball, but that deep throw-in allows your backs to get up, allows you to pin Minnesota, and then it results in corners.
There goes Tiernan, usually the short option. Andreessen will bring it in. Tiernan gets a foot to it. Over the goal.
I like that move. I like getting Madison Tiernan in the box. She's so good at clearing balls defensively, but she's also dangerously attack-wise off these corners. You saw an outswinger by Andreessen. Tiernan tries to get the inside of her foot just off of one touch, just can't get up and over the ball.
Colander, calm little touch, but Jimenez was ready off her line in a hurry. Minnesota seeking their first Big Ten tournament title since 1995. You about first grade then, Jackie?
I think I was in third grade. Thank you.
Close. This is Nikki Albrecht leading the charge forward for the Gophers. Brushed over to Colander. Colander somehow able to maneuver that shot through, but right to Jimenez.
See that ball here. Tiernan tries to switch the point of attack. Loses it on that flank to Albrecht. Albrecht dries up that left line. They try to find the ball across, and Colander, like you said, little tiny bit of space. Is able to take it, touch it to her right, gets a quick release on it. Just doesn't get enough of an angle.
Rutgers.
Leads Minnesota with 11 goals. She had a good game Friday, but was held goalless. But again, Colander has had some chances this afternoon.
Intensity, energy, definitely starting to pick up in favor of Rutgers.
Andreessen comes off for a rest for Rutgers. Knocked away by Minnesota, it falls down for Colander. Good touch by Squires to separate, not once but twice, but the cover coming back for Rutgers to nullify that. There's Aaron Smith, the defender jumping up into the play. No penalty, says the man in the middle. As Wiltshire went down for Rutgers.
You see this ball out on the outside. Really just bodied up. No foul there. Good call by the referee.
Whitley will come on for right as we go back to the 19th minute.
You see this long ball by Nikki Albrecht up and over the top of the Rutgers back line. Squires gets on it and just one-times it right into that far post.
Visco was breathing down her neck too as the quick finish there helped. And now with Wright off for a rest, you're especially seeing Aaron Smith getting forward now for Rutgers.
We've got Wright off, but Aaron Smith's transitioned into more of an attacking role right now. She's up on the line on this left side.
She's been over the shoulder of Tiernan recently. Peterson will just watch it out. A nice gathering on hand here in Minnesota for this championship game. Over the head of Tiernan. There's Shiraka.
We're starting to see different changes that Rutgers is going to make to try and get it back into this game. We've got Aaron Smith up top. We've got Tierney Wiltshire that came in for the right back, and then Courtney Norton on this left back with Kenny Wright out.
A few shadows now starting to creep onto the field on this sunny Sunday. Hoisted in by Tiernan. Popped around. Hobbs looked to get a paw to it. Will be a corner. Just one corner earned in the opening half for Rutgers. Now 4 here in the second.
See Hobbs here. Albrecht does a good job at getting that ball up and over. But Hobbs right behind her, just in case.
They keep it low. Spun right back in. As Visco was sprouting up in front.
A dangerous, well-executed corner by Rutgers. Just weren't able to connect on that back of the 6.
The wind at Rutgers' backs here in the second half. It's starting to pick up a little bit here for the final 15 minutes. So back onto the pitch for Gurnis. Whitley misses the connection. Tiernan making sure Hobbs doesn't take too much time. Fiedler. Simone Colander. Taking her time. It's good to have the lead. Would have liked to keep it a little longer. This is Burnett out of the back. Sent Squires' way. Squires pokes it into trouble. Colander, the left foot, diving onto it as Jimenez. That play looked to be dead, but somehow Sydney Squires maneuvered it into the penalty area. One of the captains, Aaron Smith, still driving forward with her Rutgers team down here 1-0 with under 15 minutes to go. Few feints by Colander. Back to the roundabout. And we look at the work of Squires once again when the play looked to be dead.
Rutgers thought this ball was out of bounds, thought that Squires had kind of given up on it, so she tries to ride it out. But Squires does a great job of keeping that ball in, tries to find something in the box. Stever went down, and then Colander, she had a little bit of time. I think she could have taken that onto her right. But she slots that ball in with her left. Jimenez does a good job to pounce on it.
Squires the other way. There's Tiernan. Not thinking about that tender ankle now with her team down late in a championship game. Squires tries to turn it ahead to Colander. The fight from Colander, a little too much. Three Rutgers defenders back. Squires and Colander for Minnesota. Colander to the right, this is Squires. Gets a little closer and lifts it over the bar from distance.
Squires just has so much pace on her. She can run down any of those balls that are lofted over. You see her here driving to space. There's 1 against 3. Colander tries to join the attack, but Squires gets her head up and decides to go from distance. Shoots it just over the crossbar.
It was interesting talking to Coach Golan about Simone Colander for Minnesota, coming from a family with 2 parents that were highly decorated collegiate athletes as well, and she thinks they reinforce a lot of those leadership things from Colander. As here is Hobbs, a little problems with it, directed wide, and this will end up leading to a corner opportunity.
A little bit of miscommunication between Hobbs and Albrecht in that back line. You saw here a header in from Whitley, a bouncing ball. Hobbs was coming off of her line to get it. I just don't think Nikki Albrecht had any idea she was there, so goes to flick that ball up and over the end line.
5th corner this half for Rutgers. There's Hobbs having to be careful with it, grabbing that one. Things getting a little quieter, but the intensity picking up here as we approach the final 10 minutes of regulation. Minnesota leading 1-0. Squires was offside. The beautiful game continues here on BTN. Men's soccer quarterfinal upcoming. It's Maryland and Michigan. But getting back to that about Simone Colander, her parents trying to reinforce that, asking her those questions. Were you the first on the field? Were you the last one to leave? Because they know how important it is for the best players to be the hardest workers and help lead the rest of the team. This is what's at stake. Prager left foots it over the top. Swaby, the push, and it's whistled.
You see this ball up and over the top by Prager. We've got some speed by Swaby coming into that spot, and we see her up on this front line. Rutgers has gone to a 3-back, so you see Kenny Wright, Visco, and Aaron Smith's back at her right back position. But Rutgers trying to throw more numbers forward, so they've got Swaby with that pace up top in the back line to try and generate some different scoring opportunities. I think we'll see this game start to open up a ton more. We'll see some more direct, longer balls played in.
Free kick for the Gophers. Driven by Burnett. Colander trying to get on it, but it was knocked away by Aaron Smith. Minnesota trying to spend as much time in this part of the field here, protecting this 1-0 lead. So Rutgers has been pushing things here, down by a goal all half. Are we approaching the moment where they really go for it here, down by a goal?
Yeah, and I think that switch to the 3-back is where we really saw Rutgers start to push things forward. We're starting to see them play more direct.
Squires back to goal is Colander. But there's Jimenez to gather it in.
Where Rutgers is getting stuck right now is they have all these numbers forward. They're playing these long balls in, but their backs are not getting up quite fast enough, so this game is so stretched right now. When they send those balls in deep, there isn't anybody to get on those second if they get redirected back out.
Getting a toe to it, and we are level. Swaby takes advantage of the mistake at the back, and Rutgers is tied in late.
What a change by Coach Mike O'Neill. They have Swaby up on that front line, moved her from her center back position, and she just doesn't give up here. Gets her foot in, is able to Tara Hobbs, and then get on the end of it and just slot it straight through. Big time goal by Swaby. See this ball up and over, and she is so pacey. Gets past the 2, gets her foot in there, gets a touch, and then is able to one-time it into the goal off of it.
Hobbs was bulldozed, but it looked to be after that goal had crossed the line. Not bad work here late for the freshman Swaby to tie it.
And you see Swaby.
It's Minnesota trying to answer right back. It was Stever in the area.
And Swaby's back at her center back position already.
Bulldozing her way forward is Peterson. Squires, the dangerous cross. Getting a rip to it! Minnesota answers right back!
Emily Heslin with a rocket at the top of the box. Coach Golan has talked about how strong she is with the ball at her foot. And here you see it, this ball gets popped out. Squires is on it deep into the half. Rutgers clears right at the top of the box though, and Heslin one-times it. Jimenez doesn't even have time to react. It's a great strike by Emily Heslin. You'll see it here again, just a misclear. Heslin comes in, drives it home right into that upper 90 corner. And Jimenez just can't even react to it. She can't even move to it. That ball comes flying past her head right into that right side of the goal.
BTN standout, and for good reason. I don't think we've seen a ball struck with that force all tournament.
It's so good for her. Like you talked about in the beginning, she doesn't have the stats really
Again, it's Swaby here across the face of goal, but no oncomers.
And right away, Rutgers goes right back into that 3-back and pushes Swaby back up on that line to just drive balls in, try and send balls up and over Minnesota's back line to get her on the other end of them.
Isn't it amazing how goals seem to follow goals? Squires with Colander.
That's why we call them Big Five moments. Those first 5 minutes after a huge play, something usually follows in there.
Colander lays off into the corner for Gurnis.
Minnesota getting their spacing down again, making Rutgers work, making them cover ground defensively.
The press coming from Swaby. Prager unable to keep it. 3 minutes to go. Tori Prager nudged ahead by Swaby. There's Tiernan blazing after it. Tiernan causes the disruption. Couldn't knife it in front. Just going at it with reckless abandon now. Rutgers down here late. Trying to avoid falling in the championship game of the Big Ten tournament for the second consecutive year. Another valiant effort though. Squires, who opened up the goal scoring in this game. Colander. Another free kick for Rutgers. A look at the trophy that Minnesota is hoping they can lift here shortly. Rutgers is shown here in the second half, though they will not go away easily. Prager comes in for a look. Colander getting ahead to it. Safely away by Squires. Squires and Colander doing their job. Things opening up. Colander the long hit. Swerving wide now with under a minute to go. Starting to smell a championship and a tournament title in Minnesota. Diligence there from Stever. Minnesota nursing this lead. Colander, for the first time since 1995, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, the Big Ten tournament champions.
What a big-time goal from Emily Heslin. Great reaction by Minnesota right after they got scored on. And Emily Heslin just with that huge strike from the top of the box.
And here comes the trophy. Another hard-fought performance from Rutgers in the championship game, but last year losing to Penn State, this year against a program on the rise as well, Minnesota.
Much better second half from Rutgers, but Minnesota able to deal with it, and able to find that second goal to put them back up late in the game.
Well, the coaches promised this would be an entertaining match, and it was.
It was definitely a game worthy of that Big Ten championship. Minnesota just did such a good job. Like we talked about, their spacing was so good. Hats off to Rutgers. They played a much better second half. They came out, they changed some things. Tactically, they were able to get after it a little bit, made for a very exciting second half, but Minnesota answered that goal well and fast.
This is a team to reckon with because they're getting hot at the right time. They're unbeaten in their last 9 games, and now they're celebrating a Big Ten tournament. Bigger goals and aspirations ahead for Stephanie Golan's team.